Hey guys, Alf here. Today I wanted to talk to you about the Nintendo Switch and how I feel about it.
Nintendo Switch!
So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. I have been all my life. Even before the NES came out, they made my favorite arcade games. So, Nintendo's current console, the Wii U, hasn't sold well. It's only sold 13 million copies in a little over 4 years, which is terrible in console sales. So, about a year and a half ago at E3 2015, Nintendo announced that they were working on a new console. And since then, the internet has gone crazy with speculations and rumors, supposed leaks, and everybody's going crazy like, which one of these are true? And some people are like, oh, this is true for sure. And other people are like, no, this is what's true. And it was kind of insane. Like the Nintendo Switch. Well, originally it was called the NX, was the code name for it, and Nintendo NX was like trending on social media for the longest time. It was very highly talked about, and people were posting Nintendo patents that they had filed throughout the last couple of years, saying that this is what the NX is going to be. But just because they patent something doesn't mean it's going to be they're going to use it. So at one point, someone released a picture of a patent for a controller that was like oblong shaped, I guess you could say, and it was basically a screen covered the entire controller with the analog sticks sticking out of the screen, and it was pretty city looking. At one point, somebody created I guess a 3D printed model of it, saying that it was the actual NX controller, and people went crazy passing around that picture through the social media saying, oh, this is what the Switch controller is. And people are like, oh, that's retarded. The Switch is going to fail. It's horrible. Eventually, it came out that it was fake. The person who made it put up a video of how he printed it out. But it was funny to see everybody freak out about it. So then at some point, Eurogamer released a leak that was a rumor at the time, saying that the NX was a tablet like screen with removable controllers that you can dock onto a docking station, and that would display the games on your TV in HD. Now, obviously, everybody's like, wait, there's a rumor, because after all this time of all these leaks and rumors and patents coming out, nothing is trustworthy anymore. So people were saying, no, it's a rumor. This isn't true. Personally, from like all the stuff I read and the stuff I thought about it, I thought that the NX would be something similar to that, but I didn't think it would be exactly that. I thought it would be two systems that would work together that you would buy separately. I thought it would be like a home console would come out first, and then maybe a year later a handheld version would come out, and but they would still play each other's games, so you could choose or either one, or you can have both, and they would work in Unity. That's what I thought it was, which is kind of similar to this concept, but the Game Informer, no, it wasn't Game Informer, it was Eurogamer leak, was very different, and as we found out later on, was pretty true. Then when E3 came around last year, everybody was like wanting them to show stuff about NX, and they were coming out saying, no, you will get no news about the NX. Everybody was still excited, saying like, oh, they're going to surprise us with news about the NX. Of course, they kept to their word, and there was no news on the NX. But what they did show was The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and blew everyone away for it. We knew it was going to come out on the Wii U and the NX, but all they showed was the footage of the Wii U. It wasn't until later on we found out that the NX version will be heightened visuals, which pretty much guarantees that it's a more powerful system. But Breath of the Wild looks beautiful. The game looks like so much fun. It's kind of still very Zelda, but adds a lot of new elements and a lot of changes, and very open world. It just looks amazing. It blew me away, and it blew away most people at E3, with many huge discussions on Nintendo won E3, and everybody's like, oh, with one game, you can't win with one game. But Breath of the Wild was huge. It was the most talked about game at E3. It was trending on all social media. Videos were everywhere. People loved it. And I think it's going to be a huge seller and a huge selling point for the Switch. So then, late last year, Nintendo announced that they were going to be putting out a trailer for the NX, and everybody would be able to see what it is. Now, this was for November, and everybody's talking about it. Everybody knew that, like, oh, let's not get too excited. They're not going to release all the information. This is a trailer, they're saying. So they're just going to show us what the system looks like and maybe some games. And true enough, it came out. I had lots of thoughts about it. Everybody was very excited. And they showed that the Eurogamer leak was very true. And that's basically what it was, a tablet with removable sides and a docking station. The system is the tablet itself. And also, a rumor that had been going around for a long time was that it would take cartridges. And yet the trailer showed that that was true. And we saw that it took cartridges. Lots of discussions and fights and arguments over this on the internet, with people saying, oh, it takes cartridges. Well, forget it, they lost. Cartridges are so weak, and they can't match Blu-ray, which is bullshit. Today's day and age, it's like back in the day, laser discs, compact discs, optical discs kind of made cartridges obsolete. But now chip technology has surpassed the limits of an optical disc. So now it's only obvious you would go back to cartridges. They're more durable, they load quicker. You don't have to install your games like you do with PlayStation 4 and Xbox, because those discs can't be read fast enough to load textures and other things that you need to play the game and make it look smooth, which is why a lot of games you see that can't reach certain resolutions and speeds and stuff. So you won't have that problem with cartridges. Cartridges can be made to hold a lot of memory now. I'm thinking they'll probably be 32 gigs, which is still close to half of what a Blu-ray could do. But I think that's only for the start and certain games, and they will be able to add more to it as they go on. This happened with Super Nintendo stuff. If you remember, Star Fox had an FX chip in it that made it more powerful, so the Star Fox looked like something that you couldn't possibly do with a regular SNES cart. So I think cartridges, all in all, are superior to optical discs now, and optical discs are starting to become obsolete until they come up with maybe the next step of a faster and more denser optical disc. But even then, that will have limits, whereas cartridges have continued to evolve, and there's really no limit to them. Just the limit is only how much more memory you can hold with the amount of size. As you make it smaller and hold more memory, and smaller and more memory, you'll be able to fit them in a cartridge and be able to hold more. So with the trailer, we got to know that it was called the Nintendo Switch. We saw what it was, that it was a tablet with slide-out controllers that they called Joy-Cons, which seems pretty cool. I think you'll be able to switch those out for other ones and have different accessories. Then when you dock the tablet onto the dock, it displays on your TV. It doubles the clock speed, so you'll be able to view it on your TV at 1080p HD, obviously. And you can pull out the Joy-Con controllers, and then there's a little a dock for you to slide them into and turn it into a regular controller. I think they'll also have different customizable Joy-Cons possibly, so you can play different games differently with different types of controllers. We saw the kind of games that would be coming out on the Switch, which in the trailer they show Breath of the Wild, a new Mario Kart, which is probably a remastered port, Skyrim, which for the first time on a Nintendo system, we're getting an Elder Scrolls game, which is probably the Skyrim most recent edition. A basketball game. I'm not really big into sports, so I don't know much about it or care. And a new Super Mario 3D type game, which I'm really excited for. I really like the Super Mario Galaxy games, and I hope it's something like that. And then a new Splatoon, which is another like HD port that we got to see that looks really cool. Has they had different hairs, colors, hairstyles, and they showed a new map. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot of new stuff added onto that game. So I'm really excited because I really love that game. Well, so then now that we knew what the Nintendo Switch was, you'd think a lot of the rumors and speculations would have disappeared. But no, there was still tons of rumors. Every single day is a different rumor, more speculation, more leaks from all over the place. Oh, this game is coming out. They're working on this game. It's going to have this much memory and this much power. No, all of them are contradicting. There's even more rumors, contradicting rumors now than there was the last year and a half of people wondering what it was. Now that we know what it looks like and what it is, it's the leaks and rumors have gotten worse. But there are people that are more believable. I mean, the Eurogamer pretty much cemented their credibility by leaking what the Switch was and it being accurate. And then there's like game journalists or leakers or whatever you want to call them, like Laura Kate Dale, who seems to be in the know, and everything that she said has pretty much been coming out as true. So some people are more believable than others. There was also a list by some guy named Gino who's on Reddit and has been leaking stuff for years, but all his leaks are like super bullshit. And I don't know why he still tries. Everybody knows it's bullshit and nobody really believes it anymore. So my thoughts on the Switch when I first saw the trailer, I mean, it's been about 2 months now, so I've had lots of time to digest it, watch it over and over again. But when I first saw it, I was really shocked at first that it was what Eurogamer was saying, because I really didn't think that's what it was going to be. And I also kind of didn't want it to be that either. I really would rather have had a dedicated home console, just because I don't really care much about the portability aspect. I don't really play on the go much. I have a 3DS, and I enjoy it a lot, but I pretty much play it on my couch 90% of the time. You know, I barely ever take it out of my house. It's probably left my house 3 or 4 times. But still a pretty cool concept. It's a cool concept that you have this big screen to play on that still kind of has regular controllers, and that you can dock it to your TV and play on your screen. If there was an easy way for me to play my 3DS games on my television, I would love that. I would just leave it hooked up to my television all the time and play the games on there. So that's kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone. So I thought this was a great idea. After watching the video and coming to a certain realization, the one thing that really disappointed me about it was that dual screen play is no longer a thing. I know a lot of people don't like it, and there's a lot of people who are like, oh, you don't need to look at 2 screens, it's too distracting. I got really used to it, and I love it. Like, a lot of people hated Star Fox Zero because you got to look at both screens, and they say it takes away from the experience. But I'm the opposite on that. I love Star Fox Zero, and I think it's the 2 screen thing makes it more enjoyable. I feel more immersed. I feel kind of like that scene in Star Wars: A New Hope, where Luke is in the Millennium Falcon shooting the cannons, and it's like moving around like this. That's kind of like what I feel like when I'm holding the the gamepad and moving it around, you know, and shooting things. I kind of feel like that. If I feel like Han Solo should be like, great shooting, kid, don't get cocky. And but yeah, I loved that game. It didn't sell well. It totally bombed. People just constantly talk about how the controls suck. And I don't get it. I'm big on motion controls. I like them. I'm big on dual screen play. That was my favorite aspect of this generation of gaming. And now that's gone. But I can get used to that. It's not a big deal. When we first started dual screen gaming and motion controlling, it took me a little while to get used to that. And eventually it just became second nature for me, and I loved it. So now getting rid of that is the same thing. It's just something I'm going to have to get used to. And in a year's time, I probably won't even think about it anymore. I was also worried if it was gonna have touchscreen because they don't really show in the trailer any games where you're touching the screen. But I think now we know we're pretty goddamn sure that it has touchscreen capabilities, so that's cool. Um, Besides that, I had no other problems. I was really happy that it was taking cartridges. I love that it takes cartridges. A big plus is as a handheld, it's basically the most powerful handheld system ever. It's more powerful than the Wii U, its last generation home console. So that's a huge step up from the 3DS. And then you can dock it at home. It overclocks and displays on your HD TV in 1080p. Fantastic. What else do you need? Like, that's a great system right there. Um, so from the trailer, I was excited. I was disappointed about a few things, but I was very excited because it does look like a classic Nintendo fun system that I've enjoyed my whole life. And of course, it will have all those games that I enjoy. Plus, Nintendo's coming out and trying to do their best to get more third-party support, and we're seeing a lot of it at launch. You know, we saw some for the Wii U. It wasn't as big as we're seeing now for the Switch, but a lot of companies dropped out later on in the Wii U career. You know, they were there at the start. About a year later, you saw less and less and less. By 2 years in, there was hardly any at all. So the most we could do is hope that the Switch sells well and that the third party games sell pretty well so that they'll stick around and make more and more games for it. A lot of people speculating on the power of it and that it won't be powerful enough. You're hearing rumors, leaks coming out saying that it's not powerful enough to port the really big AAA games to. I'm not too worried about that. I actually would prefer third-party companies make their own exclusive games for it, like they do with the 3DS. I mean, the 3DS is weaker than all the home consoles, but it's got fantastic third-party support, mostly exclusive. So that would be nice for the Switch to have a lot of exclusive third-party content, especially suited for that kind of gameplay for the Switch. And that would definitely boost up sales a lot. Yeah, a lot of people want those big AAA games because they're like, I don't want to have multiple consoles. But if the Switch comes out and is not very expensive, then it could recapture that kind of like Wii sales, where the Wii was like everybody's secondary console. They all had the PS3 and then they had their Nintendo Wii, you know, on the side. And I think that's like what Switch is going to be a lot like too. So, and then in mid-December, Nintendo released the patent for the Nintendo Switch, and it shows pretty much all the inner workings. We definitely found out that it's going to have touchscreen, whether it's multi-touch, not sure yet. We do know the right Joy-Con has an IR sensor, which I think will kind of work like a Wiimote, so that things that necessitate touchscreen, when you have it docked, you don't have the screen near you, so you can't touch it. So instead, you'll be able to use the right Joy-Con to touch, to kind of virtually touch anything on the screen. There's also the one part that interested me, because I never thought about it, and I think it's really interesting, is that you'll be able to pull out the Joy-Con, and you can use them sideways like this, and the inner part of them has two top buttons. So you're basically getting all the buttons you need to play a game within that little Joy-Con. But there's one figure in the patent that looks really interesting to me, and it's like you're holding it sideways, kind of like a gun. Let's see, I'll show you guys what I mean. Like, instead of holding it like this, you can hold it like this. And to me, that kind of looks like maybe something you can use for rail shooters, or even first-person shooters. Or maybe if you do it with both of them, you could do like vehicle simulation games and stuff, like tank games or airplane games, driving, which is kind of interesting. I hope they show what the applications for that could be, because that looks really interesting to me. Besides that, you can look up the patent for the Switch and see all these, like, the technical diagrams and stuff. Yeah, you're not going to find out too much from that, or at least not that we don't already know or have guessed on. So now tomorrow night, Nintendo is announcing the rest of the information that they will be releasing until the release of the Nintendo Switch in March. I am extraordinarily excited. It's on at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, which sucks for me because I work at 3:30 in the morning. So I'm gonna have to get a lot of sleep tomorrow and wake up late so that I could watch this and then probably stay up and go to work because I'll probably be too excited to sleep, or try to catch a nap for like an hour or two before I go to work. That's gonna suck, but I've done it before. It's no big deal. We're gonna get to hear what games are coming out. There's a lot of rumors, credible rumors from the people that I said were credible, that there's gonna be a new IP announced. We know there is a Mario Rabbids crossover game that's supposedly like an RPG. Who knows what that's like. We do have confirmation that there's a new Pokemon game coming. Maybe like a Mario sports game, but who knows. I'm pretty sure we're definitely getting a new Super Mario game at launch. Breath of the Wild has been going back and forth of whether it's going to release in the summer or at launch, but the more reliable sources have more recently been saying that now they're hearing that it will release, at least in the US, at launch. So that's very exciting. That's probably the first game everybody's going to get with it. Most people are going to be excited for that. Now, I'm pretty sure Skyrim's a launch. Some other games they might show that I'm not too sure about if they'll be launch titles or even if they'll show them, but I do know that these games are basically not fully confirmed, but are said to be coming out for the Switch. But we got Cube Life Island Survivor HD, Dragon Quest 10 and 11, super excited for those. I really hope those come to the US. It's been confirmed that at least Dragon Quest 10 is coming out for the Switch in Japan. Not sure if it's going to be localized. Crossing my fingers on that one. Lego City Undercover kind of doesn't make sense to me. It's already on the Wii U. I guess this is like an HD version, but really they should have just made a sequel, or at least if it is a port of the Wii U version, I hope they add a whole lot more to it, because I 100%ed that game. It would be useless for me to get it again just for like HD Lego graphics. Was a really fun game though. If you haven't played it, pick it up. It's like Grand Theft Auto but with Lego. Then there's also Yooka-Laylee, which a lot of people are excited for. It's by the makers of Banjo-Kazooie, which was a huge game for the N64. Personally, I was never a Banjo-Kazooie fan, so this game doesn't really have me excited, but I can understand that fans are excited for it. I know there's a Sonic project coming out, but we don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's ready to show yet tomorrow, so they might not even show it. We might just hear about it and get some info about it. So then Friday morning, we're going to get a Treehouse Live presentation. These are usually really long, so I'm thinking it's going to last most of the morning and some of the afternoon probably. And it'll probably be them, the Treehouse people, just playing the games all day and showing you all the features and what the games will be like. There's probably a half hour to each game and an hour to like the bigger games. You know, Breath of the Wild will probably be played a lot, and we'll get to see what it looks like on the Switch. Maybe features that on the Switch that will, that they could show off that might be different from the Wii U. Although I can't really think of anything, but it's a possibility. Seems really cool, and that's going to take up most of my day tomorrow, especially after like sleeping very little to go to work at 3:30 and then come home in the morning after that and watching all the stuff. I'm probably going to miss a little bit of it, and I'm going to have to try to catch up and watch that and be so sleepy and ready to sleep. But I know I'm not going to be able to sleep. I know I'm going to have to make myself stay awake, drink some coffee, whatever I got to do to watch it all day, because that's for sure what I'm going to do. I think if you guys want to get ready for this, I'm pretty sure pre-orders are going to start Friday. Not sure if that's going to be everywhere, but recently Nintendo tweeted that Nintendo New York will be taking very limited pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch Friday morning, which sucks for me because I live near New York. I would be able to go if I didn't have work in the morning, and I would be able to line up early and wait and pre-order it. Not going to happen for me now. So I think my best bet is going to be Amazon. So I'm waiting to hear when Amazon's going to put up the pre-orders, and I'm going to try to get it as soon as possible. If not, I work near a GameStop, and I usually get out of work around the time they open. So I'll probably be able to line up and wait for them to open. That's how I got my NES Mini day one. So yeah, that's about it. I wanted to kind of get my thoughts out on the Switch before tomorrow's presentation, and then I'll make another video after the presentation and talk about that and how I feel about that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I mean, I guess this is more for people who don't know much about it. Because if you've been keeping up and following up about it, yeah, you got some of my thoughts, but everything else you probably already knew. But I'm super excited for this. Are you guys excited for this? Are you guys souped for the Switch as much as I am? I think it looks awesome. I've heard a lot of people not being into it. I mean, the trailer got millions of views. It was highly talked about. People have mostly had a positive response on this. But there's still some naysayers out there. Of course, there always will be. But they're the people who are like, oh, it's going to be weak, not going to get ports, it's going to be another Wii U. And it's like, well, it's its own entity. Let's see what happens. Maybe it won't get those third party. Maybe it doesn't need it. Nintendo's kind of a rich company. They don't need to sell as much as the other people. People like to make the consoles a competition. It's like they want, we've had console wars before, and it's like they want there to be console wars. Like, if you don't win, then you just suck and fail and you should give up. And it's like, nah, Nintendo doesn't need to sell as much as Sony. They don't need to sell more than Sony. They just got to sell enough to profit well and do good for themselves. You know what I'm saying? They don't have to conquer the console. I understand there's some people who are like, oh, I was a Nintendo fan, and I'd like to see Nintendo on top again. And it's not that I'm against seeing Nintendo on top. I just don't care. The only thing I care about is that they keep releasing stuff that I like and I can play all the time. I have so much fun with Nintendo consoles. Not that I dislike other consoles. PlayStation has good games too, and I enjoy it. To my tastes, I just happen to enjoy Nintendo a whole lot more than I enjoy Sony and Microsoft. That's just me as a company. I like their characters a lot. I have a bunch of amiibos. I have a whole shitload of Wii U games. I still have my old games from my old consoles. They're just a lot more fun to me. So Nintendo doesn't need to outsell everybody. They don't need to sell 1 billion copies or anything. It would be nice for them to do better than they did with the Wii U, because the Wii U didn't do well, even though it's a great console, but it's not, I guess, what the majority of people wanted. And I think a lot of people were burnt out from the Wii. A lot of people didn't know the Wii U was even a whole separate console. They thought it was an add-on to the Wii. So it was a lot of confusion. It's a console a lot of people didn't want, I guess, except for like the diehard fans. And I think the Switch is a little different. I think the Switch is for diehard fans, but is also broad and general, and for lovers of games in general. Maybe not the super hardcore gamers, but the somewhat hardcore gamers, casual gamers, the people in the middle will probably enjoy this. And I think they probably will have hardcore gamer games on it. They just might not be the big AAA titles. They might just be exclusive Nintendo titles, because from what they're saying, what developers are saying is that this system is much easier to develop for than the Wii U was. And a lot of them are even saying that it's the easiest console out right now to develop for. So if it is, that means it's cheap, quick, easy to make games on it. Maybe not to port if the games are too big and don't fit on it, but to develop for it is. And that means they would have to sell less units to profit from it. Not like, say, the Wii U, you make a game on it, you sold 10,000 copies, and you're shit out of luck because that wasn't enough to cover the costs of developing that game. Well, if you do it on the Switch and you sell 10,000 copies, which is still pretty shitty, but you're covering the cost more than is as if you did on the Wii U, which took extra time, extra manpower, was difficult and you had issues that you have to resolve and all this stuff. So in the end, I think the Switch is going to do a lot better than the Wii U did, and I think it's going to have a much broader audience, which is good. And I hope that companies continue to support it. Nintendo does have a lot of support for this now. So I guess we find out tomorrow what's going on and Friday morning. So super excited. Hope you guys are excited. Let me know what you guys think, or if you guys are excited. I guess keep playing, guys. Get that Nintendo Switch. You're going to enjoy it. Peace out.